Listen, I don't know what the devil is trying to throw your way, but there is no reason to trip over that thought. That's really all it is, a thought. You know, we can get so caught up in trying to control the outcome. If you're anything like me, I get caught up doing this all the time, that I ultimately forget God's got the plan. But we don't have to trip over that storm. Whether it's the storm in our mind or the storm in your life, there is no reason to trip out about that scenario that keeps playing over and over in your mind. See, there's power in our words and our thoughts. This is why we have to watch what we are saying, but we also have to watch what we are meditating on throughout the day. You know, if we are constantly meditating on fear-based scenarios, then guess what? We will constantly be met with them. We serve a God who speaks to those winds and to those waves. We serve a God who commands the storms to be still. So don't allow the chaos in your mind to tip the boat in your life. God is saying to someone right here, right now, it's not going to turn out like you are thinking it's going to. All those storms in your mind telling you worst case scenario is a lie straight from the gates of hell. You know, it's like this. Those storms are an indication that you are breaking free, and hell knows it's not going to hold you much longer. 2 Timothy 2:7 points us to this. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Key words right here, not of fear. Because you are a child of God, and you have been forgetting the inheritance that God has for you as his child. You know, it's the spirit of this dark age that has been trying to pull you back into its tar pit. But in this season, right here, this season, it's so important to tune into God's voice and his voice only. Look, it's not going to be in the chaos. It's not going to be in the fear. It's not going to be in the anger. It's that soft, still whisper. Revelation 3:20 shows us this idea. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and eat with him and he with me. So he is knocking at the door and wanting to come in. So it's time to take that step and let him into that situation. You know, we can think that God is coming in to punish us or to condemn us, but that is so far from the truth. He just wants to come in to calm those storms, to alleviate the chaos and to quiet down the winds. He wants to speak to you. And look, he's been speaking this whole time. It's just time to turn down all the static in our minds, all the static that keeps coming against what God is trying to tell us. And when we turn down that static, that will allow us to hear him today. Look, I don't know who this message is for, and I don't know why God is putting this on my heart. But he hasn't forgotten about you, and he has been speaking to you through this entire process. If it feels silent, then maybe it's because we've been paying attention to the storms too much. Maybe we've turned our ears to the tune of the waves. Jeremiah 33:3 says it like this. Call to me and I will answer you and will tell you great and hidden things that you have not known. So the storms are only present to prune away the stuff that isn't of the Lord, to destroy the things that have been taking his place. You know the false prophet called fear? Yeah, he has been trying to lure you into the trap and deceive you into its wicked ways. Check this out in 1 Kings 19:11-12. This is what it says. Go out and stand before me on the mountain, the Lord told him. And as Elijah stood there, the Lord passed by, and a mighty windstorm hit the mountain. It was such a terrible blast that the rocks were torn loose. but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, there was a sound of a gentle whisper. You know, the presence of the storm isn't an indication of God's absence. It's actually just the opposite. You know, the devil has held you long enough, and fear has gripped your heart for too long. Those storms in your life are going to be silenced today. You know, all it takes is one word from God, and all the waves and winds come to an end. God, I ask that you please silence the storms in our life so we can tune to your gentle whisper. You know, think about the disciples and how they were on that boat. And as the storm came, it says that Jesus was asleep. The wind was bashing the ship, and I could only imagine that the rain was beating down harder than ever, you know, but it doesn't mention anything about the rain. But what it does mention is the wind and the waves. I mean, could you imagine how they must have felt? You know, it was probably in that moment that they feared for their lives. You know, all faith went out the window, and to top it all off, Jesus was asleep. You could almost hear the worry and scarcity in their voice as they asked Jesus, "Do you not care if we drown?" You know, we give the disciples a bad rap about this. But how many times in our lives have we been here ourselves? You know, thinking that all of a sudden Jesus stopped caring if we drown. And for me, drowning could represent so many things in our lives, whether financially, emotionally, or spiritually. But here's the Jesus that we serve. This is what he says in Mark 4:39. He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. So God is about to step into your boat and silence those winds and bring your mind to complete stillness. This is where you will hear God's voice so clearly. And starting from this day forward, your ears will be tuned to the sound of that whisper. No longer will fear grip you. No longer will the storms cause you to slip backwards. Listen, right here at the end of this video, type this. Say, "Speak to me, God. Your servant is listening." Listen, I love you so much. I'll see you on the next one.